Hey guys, today's video is a mini tea of things happening on the internet, and let's just get into it. My social media will be in the description along with my second channel, anything else you might need to find. Subscribe with that bell, like, comment for engagement, and let's just get into it. So, Manny MUA has recently been called out a few times for a few things. One of them being defending James Charles, still being friendly with him, promoting his merch. Then he was called out by Marlene Estelle, and he essentially started exposing Makeup Geek, which is owned by Marlene Estelle, and was also called out for that. So recently we've been talking about him quite a bit, and that is after like a dry spell of drama, if that makes sense. For Manny. Like, Manny hasn't been involved in drama for a really long time, since Dramageddon, essentially. And, you know, he's been very good since then. And then, you know, a few things have been going on here and there recently. With them having a drama-type podcast, it also adds that extra level of, like, so you have a drama podcast where you talk about drama issues on the internet, where you call out other YouTubers, but you're not calling out your friend that is messaging teenagers inappropriately, allegedly. Bit odd, but okay. And then recently, we had some drama again with Manny MUA releasing Manny MUA. Why did I just like Manny MUA recently released this contour palette, this one right here. This is the only one that it comes, like the only variation that it comes in. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The deepest shade isn't as deep as it could be necessarily. Like, there is a gradient. Don't get me wrong. There are 10 shades. I just think there could be, I feel like the shade could be. It could be more of a range. It could be more of a gradient. We got like a lot of really light shades, and then there's like light shades and then deep shades, but there's no like variation between them. Like, I feel like more could be done here. Also, I just think, so he did explain in his video where he announced this palette why he's bringing out one palette, and it's because each individual product that you kind of create has a, let's just call it a barcode. It has a code, and a lot of the times when you sell stuff, they'll ask you how many of each barcode you want to order, and there's like a minimum amount that you need to order from each one. So if he released 10 different contour shades, he'd have to order, for example, 20,000 per barcode, and each shade is a different barcode, so he'd have to order 200,000 units, which is a lot to try and push. Whereas if you just make one palette, that's just one individual barcode, and you can just basically order 20,000 of that barcode. So it makes sense, but I feel like even just releasing two palettes, one light, one deep, would have been a lot better than trying to release a fully comprehensive, applies to everyone palette that is obviously not going to apply to everyone. Also, anyone that is in an MUA doesn't need 10 shades. Like, I personally, I don't need 10 shades. Now, I get what he's trying to say in the sense that the middle pans, like the really, really deep shade and then the really, really almost white shade, can be used to mix in with the other shades. But that also then just makes the palette redundant. Like, the fact that there's 8 shades and then you can like mix in, do you know what I mean? It's almost like this, at that point, too much choice. And you're not going to use all of these. What is going to end up happening is, if I bought this palette, I'd essentially mix the white into all of the deep shades and then the deep into all of the light shades, which means I'd essentially just keep on creating the same shade over and over again, which means I, at this point, have 10 pan worth of one shade when I could have just bought that one shade from a different brand that I know works for me. This is just too much product for one person to go through, if that makes, am I making any sense? I feel like unless you're an MUA or you do makeup on your friends and you have like a diverse friendship group and you're doing everyone's makeup and you're like that person that they go to for makeup, you do not need all of these shades and you don't need this quantity of makeup. So he tweeted out saying, "She really is the moment." And someone said, "The packaging and the concept are beautiful, but the shade range is not good." And he said, "I said it wouldn't fit everyone, but I did make sure I will cover a ton of different skin tones. The average contour palette has 6 shades and mine has 10. So you're pretty good compared to what's on the market. Now hear me out. Sometimes quantity isn't good. Quantity is not more important than quality. I feel like doing even just 3 shades in the palette, but making sure that they're very diverse, or doing 6 shades is just as good. Sometimes it's doing 10. Like I said, the 10 seems a little bit redundant. Some of the shades are very similar and there isn't that much of a gradient going on. Like, there is, don't get me wrong, there is a gradient. I can see that there is a gradient, but it's just like, more could have been done if there was more than one palette. And I feel like with one palette, you're very limited with what you can do. I do understand. I feel like a lot of people are looking at just the outside shades, but they're not looking at the 2 inside shades. You can use the 2 inside shades to mix into the other shades, which means you can deepen them up or lighten them down, which means the deepest shade in that palette is not actually the deepest shade because you can still deepen it up. However, the fact that you have to play little chemist and mix your own shade starts to enter MUA territory, and I feel like a lot of people are not going to do that when you can just buy a pre-made shade that works for you, you know? So that happened, and then he posted an Instagram story saying this.
Hey you guys, so I just want to jump on here really quickly and talk about my Outer Dimension face palette. And I just wanted to say that I'm seeing some concerns about whether or not people think that it would hit deeper complexions and that it's not going to fit deeper complexions. And I want you guys to know that I'm seeing the comments, I'm absorbing the information. Like, your feelings are completely valid. They really are. Honestly, I was getting a little bit defensive. I was being kind of a bitch about it, to be quite honest. Because when you work really hard on something, when it's your own line, and you feel like you did a good job, it's so hard to hear people being like, it's not good enough, when it's like, but I worked 2 years on this, you know? And you start to like get into your own head about it. You know, think back and you're like, but I was trying my best to be inclusive as possible with one palette, you know? And I understand if that's not enough. I do. And I'm hearing you, and I apologize for being defensive about it, because I have been. I've responded, and I've been kind of a bitch. I'm not gonna lie, because it just sucks to hear when you actually thought you were doing the right thing, and it turns out, you know, that you could have done more, and that it wasn't enough for some people. So I understand. I am listening, I'm absorbing, and I want my brand to be the best it can be. Like, I would never, just know, like, genuinely, that I would never purposefully leave anyone out of my brand. Doesn't matter the complexion, from the lightest to the deepest. Like, I would never purposefully do that. I always try to be as inclusive as I possibly can. And that's what I want to continue with and move forward with. You know what I mean? So I'm working on it, you guys. I understand. I appreciate your guys' concern and letting me know. But yeah, I kind of want to just talk about that really quickly, because just know that I'm not ignoring it. Yesterday was a really hard day for me. I don't even want to talk about it right now. I just need to stay busy, to be quite honest. I just need to be busy. So I appreciate you guys' concern. Let me just say that.
And that is that on that. What do you guys think? Do you think that's enough shades? Do you think that's just not enough shades? Like, what are we feeling on this one? I'm a little bit conflicted. Like, I do understand that you can deepen up the deepest shade and you can lighten up the lightest shade. However, personally, me, I would just prefer to buy one shade that I know works for me than to buy this whole palette where I have to start mixing and matching to figure out. It's just like you're essentially buying 10 pans of it's as if I went into a store and bought all 10 shades of contour and then just tried to mix them together to make my perfect color instead of just buying one shade that works for me. That's just my opinion on palettes for the face. I just don't really see the point in them. But yeah, that's besides the point. What do you guys think about the shade range? 2, Dani Con. Her manager recently, you know, we know the stuff. So Danielle Con is someone that's been lying about their age for a long time. Well, her mum doing very inappropriate things. Recently had a manager. The manager was Michael Weist, the one behind TanaCon, and he did a back and forth video expose with Dani Con a while ago. So he did a video, then she replied. He did a video, she replied, so on and so forth. He accused, you know, Jen of being very inappropriate and just of things happening behind the scenes that he wasn't comfortable with. So he had ended up leaving as her manager. She accused him of forging her signature and stealing stuff from her. It was a lot. And he's actually doing a documentary series about Dani Con now. He released episode 1 already, and people are giving him quite a bit of praise for this, basically just exposing Jen's inner workings behind the scenes. And also he did a preview on his channel of an interview with Virginia, who is the woman who leaked the audio in which Danielle Con and Jen are talking about the fact that Danielle Con was pregnant and actually had an abortion, and exposed further just like the ways that things work behind the scenes. So people are actually kind of not excited, because that sounds odd. Not excited is the word, but just very intrigued by kind of like his documentary series and what he's going to do with it and how things are going to get sorted out behind the scenes. And yeah, so that's that. He also has a trailer up on his channel for the whole series. If you guys want to watch that, you can. But yeah, I'm actually quite... like, is he the moral compass nowadays? I don't know. But I feel like anyone is better than Jen at this point. And I'm just glad that someone is talking about this. He also, I believe, is working with Chris Hansen, who also is not that liked and respected in the community, but at least something is being done about this. Okay, at least something is being done. Because Danielle Con has been spoken about for years, and I feel like it's been so long overdue that by the time we start actually calling her out and calling out her mom, she's going to be 18. And then she's going to be like, look, I'm legal now, you know? And with recent stuff that's been going on, like, for example, her starting what's essentially an OnlyFans and then promoting it in really inappropriate ways on her Instagram stories. There's just a lot going on that I feel like needs more exposure. I feel like people used to talk about Danielle Con all the time, and now they've moved on to other things, and I feel like we still need to, you know, bring it back, talk about Danielle for a little bit, because those things are still happening. They haven't stopped. She's still being, you know, used for money, essentially, by her mum, allegedly. So let's just keep on talking about it until things get figured out. And I'm glad he's doing this series, actually, unless it becomes a show, and then, you know. Also, Addison Rae is pregnant, allegedly. No. Basically, there's this account that basically said, let's start a fake rumor about Addison Rae being pregnant. And if you go on Addison Rae's TikTok into her comment section, everyone's like, oh my god, you're pregnant, congratulations on being pregnant. And I for a second thought that she was actually pregnant because she's dating this musician, and I was like, oh my god, is she pregnant? So people in the comments were like, oh my god, check her out last Instagram post. I went on her Instagram like an idiot, no post about being pregnant. I went through all of them. Then I went back on her TikTok, and everyone's like, yeah, it's a big joke. Basically someone was like, let's create a rumor about Addison Rae being pregnant, and she's actually not pregnant. So yeah, fake news. It just goes to show how quickly fake news spreads. Like, if someone like me wasn't aware, they're generally going to think that Addison Rae is pregnant, because I for a second thought she was actually genuinely pregnant. And it just goes to show how dangerous it is on the internet. Like, I get that this is a joke. But it just goes to show how quickly fake information spreads if you're not careful. And that's scary. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, anything to comment down below, and subscribe to those videos every time something happens. So hit that bell. You'll be notified when that's happening. Social media links and the links in the description. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.